Almost there. Almost 100,000.
What's up, everybody? My name's Kyle, and welcome to the LRT Outpost. And this is my 2019 Ford Ranger Crew Cab FX4 Lariat. I bought this truck brand new in November of 2019, and it is my do everything truck. It is my daily driver, my tow rig, my work truck. I do absolutely everything in this vehicle, and I've put a little over 100,000 miles. I think we're sitting around 106,000 miles. So I've had a lot of time to like kind of pick this truck apart. We're going to go over the good, the bad, and the ugly. So let's get into it. Now, the FX4 package just comes with upgraded shocks. It does sit up a little bit higher than the standard units, and it comes with the full steel skid plate and tow hooks in the front. It does also comes with a couple little cool off-road features that we'll get to in just a minute. Now, the Ranger is an American classic.
Ford Ranger!
And the four-door model has actually been around since 1998, but only in the overseas market. So when Ford decided they were going to bring the four-door platform to the Americas back in 2019, I knew I had to get one. And these new Rangers come with a pretty impressive 2.3 liter turbocharged four-cylinder, very similar to the four-cylinder that comes into the EcoBoost Mustang. The 2.3 liter turbo, you feel a little bit of a lag, but is very brief, and paired with that transmission, which really is probably a little overkill for this size truck, it keeps it up in the power band really nice. And it is kind of odd if you really put the hammer down, you just kind of feel it shift through all those gears. But the overall power of the truck feels really good. So for comparison, the Ranger is 270 horsepower and 310 foot-pounds of torque. And you only get the 2.3 liter turbo motor with the 10R80 transmission as an option in these. There's not multiple engine options. So the Colorado, just the V6, which is their faster version, they come in a diesel as well, but the V6 is rated at 308 horsepower and 275 foot-pounds of torque for the V6, and the diesel is 369 foot-pounds. So kind of pick your poison there. Colorado does seem to have a little bit more of horsepower numbers, and the Tacoma is 278 with the V6 and 265 foot-pounds of torque. So the Ranger is very competitive, but it feels like there's more to it. Not that this really matters being a mid-size pickup truck, but the 0 to 60 time in the Ranger is 6.7 seconds estimated. Now, the Colorado with the V6 is 6.4. So just a couple, just like 3/10 of a second faster. But the quarter mile time for the Colorado is estimated around 15 and a half and right around 15 for the Ranger. So maybe that has something to do with the transmission. So it does, it makes really good use of the power that's available. So it feels like it's very sporty to drive. Now, that it is still a pickup truck. Now, it handles pretty good for a pickup truck. It likes to go ahead and get up and go. And overall, it does handle pretty decent. You still get some body roll. You do get some nose diviness when if you're kind of got to get hard on the brake just a little bit. But this is the FX4 package. So it does have the upgraded suspension, so it sits up a little bit higher. I do have a leveling kit and oversized tires on this just because nobody likes a truck that's just nose down. You want it to sit nice and level. And we don't do that Carolina squatty potty stuff around here.
Ha! Gay!
You want that nice level look. That's what I like for my trucks. That's just my opinion. But I feel like they look the best. The real impressive thing was when I was looking at getting a pickup truck, I was riding all the time. If you watch any of my other videos, I mess with the side by sides a lot, but it started out with like four wheelers and it just kind of evolved from there. So I needed something that could pull a trailer really well, but I needed something I could drive every day and just not just kill me with gas mileage. And I didn't want to sacrifice comfort and things like that. So one of the things that impressed me, not only with the power and kind of how sporty the truck felt, because it is fairly fun truck to drive every day, is the towing capacity is rated with the tow package, which is basically just a class 2 hitch and the 7-pin trailer wiring harness. You get a 7,500 pounds of towing capacity. That's pretty stout for a mid-sized pickup truck. Now, just going back for comparison purpose, the Colorado is rated at 7,000 in the V6 and 7,700 for the diesel. So still competitive there. And then the Tacoma is 6,800. So the Ranger really competes very closely with the diesel version of the Colorado. So just as an overall option, I just felt this was better for me. And come on, who doesn't love a little turbo?
My car goes psh, psh.
Now, just since we're on the subject, the payload capacity for the Ranger is 1,860, so 1,860 pounds. The Colorado payload is, sorry, checking my notes here because I can't memorize all this stuff. 1,548 pounds, and the Tacoma is 1,440. So Ranger has more of a payload capacity than all of its competitors for the most part. I did not look at the Frontier or anything. I just wasn't a fan of how those looked. Those were the only ones I was really looking at. Those three, the big three, basically, when you're looking for a mid-size pickup. Probably one of the best things I can say about the crew cab 5th generation Ranger is just the overall drivability. That's why I specifically kind of sought this truck out and looked at others in its market, like the Tacoma and even the Colorado. The size of the truck is decent. You don't feel cramped. I'm 6 foot ish, give or take. So I feel like I got plenty of room. Now I do have the seat pretty much all the way back, so that will sacrifice some room for rear passengers, but you know, I could compensate. I'll go over the space in the back when we go through the things that aren't so great. But overall, like the cab feels nice and comfortable, and it feels good when you drive it. It doesn't feel like a heavy truck. Now, with its size, just driving through even little tight little town streets, and like parking areas, things like that, it's very easy to maneuver. So I liked having the truck because I needed the bed and also the towing capacity, but I didn't want to sacrifice like it just being a pain trying to find or fit into a parking spot in some areas. I do work in a city. I commute about 45 minutes every day for work. So I needed something that wasn't going to kill me on gas, be fairly drivable through the city too. So for parking and all that. And it does really well. Me and my wife have a pretty tight little 2-car garage, and I'm able to slip this thing in and out with no problem. So with all that said, I really think Ford nailed it with like the size and dimensions. That just makes this just the perfect kind of daily driver pickup truck if you still need to use it for utilitarian use, like pulling trailers and hauling stuff in the cargo bed. And being as how I commute and drive it all the time, uh, gas mileage is somewhat of a factor. Now, it's not like a make or break, but I do want something fairly decent because, again, I drive this to work every single day. And honestly, my estimation in the computer is a little off just because I have oversized tires, but I'm averaging 20.2 miles per gallon. That's actually probably a little off. It's actually probably a little more, like probably closer to 21. Now, I do run 93 octane. From my personal experience and some stuff I've seen online, it does seem to like the 93 octane better than 87. It just seems like it runs a little bit better. The transmission even kind of acts a little smoother. And I'm pretty sure that's probably where Ford got its power numbers and stuff from. So take that into consideration. Well, when gas prices are super high, you bet your ass I'm putting 87 in this thing. But I try to run 93 in it most of the time because it does seem like it likes it a lot better. And I have no tune. That's just from the factory. It just seems like it does better. And now, seeing as this is my daily driver, I don't really off-road with it hardly ever. I do a little playing around behind the outposts and stuff, but I just have always wanted to keep this in good shape again because I use it every day and I need to depend on it. So I try not to beat up on it, but it does do really well with limited off-roading I have done. Ford has made a great off-road system. So their newer Broncos have what they call like their goat mode that go over any terrain. Well, this truck actually has kind of like the first iteration of that. So what you do is you have your little knob to switch from 2 high, 4 low, and then you have your terrain management, this TM button. And you can switch while moving, like up to a certain speed. I think it's like maybe 30 miles an hour or something like that. But you can actually switch into 4 high. Now you can't do 4 low, but you can switch to 4 high while moving in this vehicle, which is pretty nice. You just turn your little dial here. When you turn it, 4 high is engaging, and then you can just hit your terrain management and you have your options. You got normal, grass, gravel, snow, mud and ruts, and sand. And what this is basically like kind of changing how the traction control system works, and it does really well. The other cool thing, which is a part of the FX4 package, is you also have this little button here, which is trail control. So trail control, you press that button and you can actually set cruise control at like really slow miles per hour. Like literally you can set this thing to cruise control or trail control at 1 mile per hour. Okay, so what we're going to do is you're going to switch to 4 high, 4 low. There we go. But for 4 low, we get a notification we have to be in neutral. So we'll switch to neutral. 4x4 shift in progress. Oops. There we go. 4x4 shift. There we go. Advanced track turns off. Okay, now we're going to do our terrain management. And we are going to go to sand because we're in kind of a sandy little area. Turn our trail control on. And we just set our button here with our cruise control button for the trail control. Bump it up 1. Take our foot off the brake and away we go. And you can hear it as we approach this little hill. I don't know if you can hear with my microphone or not, but it's actuating the brakes. It's actually slowing me down as I'm going down this hill. And it is maintaining that 1 mile per hour speed we just set. And you can stop it yourself. I just hit the brakes, we stopped, let off the brake, starts again, descending down the hill. And you can also override with the gas pedal, just like regular cruise control. I can hit the gas, I can go a little bit quicker, so we get to a section of the trail like this, a little bit more open. We can override the speed we set. And then as soon as I let off the gas, brakes actuate, slow me back down to that 1 mile per hour again, and we just start creeping along at that set speed. It's a very cool little feature. Again, it's very minimal off-roading this truck has ever seen, but that's just neat. The other thing about the FX4 package, which is a huge plus, is an electronically locking rear differential. And you do that here with this button. All you do is press the button. Actually, I think you have to hold it down. Yep, hold it down, and then you get your notification that your rear diff is also engaged. And your other buttons here, just your traction control, your parking sensor, and this is your tow haul mode, which does change shift points and stuff with the transmission. And it does help a lot with the trailer. It helps actually you'll feel it like downshift quite aggressively if you start to slow down and you got a load behind you. It'll take its time and you'll kind of feel it downshift and kind of rev to help you slow down. I feel like it makes a pretty huge difference, especially if you got quite a bit of weight. And with the 7,500 pound towing capacity, like we were talking about, it's pretty impressive. And it does make a huge difference in my opinion.
And if you really want to play around with it, you put your shifter in the sport mode, which kind of holds the RPMs a little bit higher and changes the shifting parameters and stuff, kind of lets the engine kind of rev out a little bit. Lock that rear differential up, and you hold down your traction control button. You'll get your light that says it's traction control is off, but keep holding it, and then that turns the advanced track off. And that'll actually allow you to slide it sideways. So even if you turn the traction control off, it'll still kind of start engaging the brakes to stop the back end from coming around and sliding around. So you have to hold it to turn off the advanced track, and then you can really kind of have some fun with it. Overall, I feel the interior is nicely laid out and comfortable. I really like the dark with the kind of light beige interior. Looks nice. Now it is like the hard kind of scratchy plastic, but it does seem to hold up really well. It hasn't really given me any problems over the years for the most part. The steering wheel is held up really well as well. So overall, I'm actually really impressed with the interior. The seats are very comfortable and ergonomic. Heated seats are nice. They will get very hot. If you are looking into getting one of these Rangers or any model Ford around this year model where they started having the like technology packages, I do highly recommend go ahead and just paying that extra cost and getting that upgraded technology package. So you get the bigger screen here. You also get the Bang & Olufsen sound system. There is a little subwoofer behind the back seat there. Sounds fantastic. I actually test drove a newer Bronco. I think it was a 2023 or 2024 Bronco. It did not have the technology package with the Bang & Olufsen sound system, and you had to really basically have the volume maxed out to get any type of like decent sound quality or volume. Especially it was a soft top too, so it was a little bit noisier. I just test drove one just because I like the Broncos, but I can't get rid of the Danger Ranger. Anyways, I do recommend just for the sound system alone. It's great. It's got some nice little bass to it. Looking to maybe upgrading the subwoofer to something if I can. It would be nice to have just a little bit extra, you know what I mean? Little harder hit there, but it sounds great. So it's really all anybody should need for the most part, and actually has an option to make it more of like a surround sound style as well. Makes it sound really nice. Okay. So I've been talking this thing up a little bit. Now it's time for the bad. I got the technology package, which again, I do recommend that you get, and it comes with the upgraded LED package for all your lighting. So it's nice. Your DRLs are LED, and your headlights, these nice projector headlights are LED, and your fog lights are also LED. The tail lights, your tail lights are LED as well, and reverse lights, and the third brake light. Now that is an aftermarket third brake light, by the way. Turn signals, you can kind of see the bulb in there. Your marker lights, these are aftermarket. I put those in. There's the normal ones are an amber regular bulb marker light, and this side marker light. Puddle lights that shine down are all your standard normal style bulb for whatever reason. They're like the only bulbs on the truck that are. I don't know why they just couldn't have gone ahead and just integrated those into LED as well. Just think that's weird. Just kind of a little cheap out, I guess. Now, even though the cab does feel pretty roomy, even for somebody a little bit on the tall side, you still kind of are limited on the amount of room you have. I actually have the seat pretty much as far back as it'll go. And this is kind of where I feel comfortable. I could actually probably maybe scooch it up an inch or two, but this is where I feel comfortable. So you can imagine the back seat can be a little tight for a full-grown adult. And to show you what I'm talking about, I have my driver's seat where I would comfortably have it when I'm driving. Now, I could, as the driver, sacrifice a little bit of that to make my rear passengers a little bit more comfortable. Again, I'm a 6 foot right at it, and I got enough room to where I can sit here. The back seats do have these like nice little like divots or like bolsters here, where it's actually got almost like a cutout for your knees. So you do have a little bit of extra space. I typically do like to sit with my legs a little wide so I can go on the outside of the seats and still close the door. So not terrible. Would I want to take a several hour long road trip back here? No, but I could survive. The only complaint I do have, driver's seat here, just from getting in and out. It's got stress mark, hasn't ripped or anything. As you can see, it's got some stress marks in it.
Another thing that's not great is the Ford Sync 3 that comes in these things. It's just got a mind of its own. It's working fine right now. Got my phone plugged into it, and you can only use it with the phone plugged in. Like it doesn't wirelessly connect. I think they may have. I'm sure they updated that on future models, but at least this one, I have to plug it in. And my wife's iPhone, we can't even get it to connect at all with a cable or otherwise. So it's just a little weird acting. Most of the time, it works pretty decent, but sometimes it just decides it just doesn't want to do anything, or it just does all kinds of weird stuff. I don't know, but it needs some work. The other thing, when you get the upgrade technology package, like I said, you get the bigger screen, but you also get multiple screens here as well on the left and right side of your speedo, and you can just check your fuel economy, get your display modes. You actually get like a nice off-road kind of off camber or whatever. It gives you your degrees, lane keep assist. And you got all your little settings for your cruise control, all that good stuff. So you got quite a few options. You can kind of customize the way you want this to look. So you can kind of flip through, pick which screen you like the most. But over here, you get nothing. I mean, you basically get nothing. It's basically just always says C touchscreen. Like you get a little compass here for navigation, but your entertainment, it'll just tell you what's playing. But I mean, I just got to turn my head literally like half a degree and look at the big screen and see what I'm listening to. I guess if I only had my GPS map here, that would kind of be nice, but I can't. I think it's kind of pointless. You can go to your phone too, and like go to your calls and stuff. So, I mean, I use that sometimes, but most of the time it just stays here. I just feel like it's pretty useless. I think Ford missed a good opportunity to let you be able to customize, maybe move things. Maybe you could just have just the uh, tachometer there, or maybe even a boost gauge since it's this turbo. You know, car guys, we love to see the little needle move. So, I mean, I think it would just there was a much wiser use of real estate there instead of just being like, oh, hey, you get an extra screen and just slapping some junk in there. But it does look nice, I guess. The most annoying thing about this view, I got my key. Truck is running. I'm just say I want to step in the store, but my wife and kid are going to hang out in the truck instead of walking in. Or I got my dog in there and I want to leave the AC running. Nobody can take my truck. I got the keys with me, so it's nice and secure. I can lock it. I just want to go walk in the store real quick and just leave my truck running. But guess what? I can't step away and shut the door without it always doing that. That is super annoying. Whoever thought about that, I'm assuming maybe it was some kind of safety thing to keep Ford from getting sued by some bonehead that, I don't know, forgot they left their vehicle running for some reason. I don't know. It's super aggravating. I think you can get rid of it with a force scan if you're brave enough to use that, or go with some kind of aftermarket tuner, I think, can turn that off as well. But super aggravating. Small thing you would think, but you'd be surprised how many times you would do that. Even just like you forgot something to go walk back in the house and come right back out. It's just aggravating. Now, being that this is also a super crew, you get a limited bed size. So you only get the 5 foot bed, which is pretty short. So if you like to haul like an ATV or dirt bike, yes, your tailgate's going to be down for sure. You're never going to be able to close it. You got limited room. I got a bunch of junk in here, but you also don't have a plug. Like I think some of the Tacomas, they have like a plug in the bed, like I have in the back seat, which is nice, but I think I'd rather have it in the bed of the truck. And also, there's no factory lighting back here. You actually have to, you can use your third brake light, but you have to come all the way back up here, hit your button here, and then you'll have like your lighting. So the red brake light is in the center, and then you have the two clears on the end. That'll light up with that button, which is nice. You get it, but you have to walk all the way over here. And if you have a tonneau cover like I got, there's no light inside the bed. So I'll be coming up with something to fix that on my own. I'm rigging up something custom. I got some LED strips. We'll see how well they work for that. So if you like that sort of DIY stuff,
make sure you hit that like, hit that subscribe, stay a while. I appreciate you. I'm always getting into something and I just film myself doing it and you can just see what the heck I'm getting into. Now, with it being the FX4 package, you get the upgraded shocks that come with the FX4 package, the more off-roady package, and it does sit up a little bit higher. However, those shocks they leave a lot to be desired. I'll put it that way.
They're kind of soft, kind of bouncy feeling. They're not terrible, but 100,000 miles on this truck. I'm at 106,000 miles right now. So I'm not surprised they're probably wore out, but they were already kind of a little soft and a little bouncy from the get-go. Leveling kit didn't really seem to affect that too much. So if you are looking into one of these or have one of these and we're thinking about doing a leveling kit, I didn't really notice much of a change handling wise or anything like that. But again, I do have the FX4 package, so I don't know how much of a difference that makes.
Now, while I think the transmission that comes in these, that's again is a 10-speed to 10R80, uh, I think it's a good transmission. I think it's a little overkill for the truck, but I think it complements it well with the power plant and everything. I think there's a good combo going on here. However, it is a little wonky.
Doesn't really seem to like to be driven modestly. It likes to just kind of just go ahead and get up to speed, and it shifts really fine. But there's been some complaints about the transmission and how it feels.
I tend to be a little bit of an aggressive, speedy driver myself, so it doesn't really seem to bother me. That pesky DPFE sensor or the EGR pressure sensor, it goes bad in these things. I've already replaced mine twice. If you haven't watched my last video, I did like kind of go a little bit more in depth on the common things that I've seen people run into and I personally dealt with these this 5th generation Ranger. Again, that's your year models 2019 from 2023. If you haven't watched that video, I'll do a little tag for it too, so you can go check that out if you want to. Now, your earlier models, your 19s, your 20s, 21s, 22s, I think mid 2023 they did do some upgrades to the transmission, but there were some reported failures. I think the main culprit is the CDF drum. There are some people talking about like getting some reflashes. There is like some kind of like adaptive learning type programming for the transmission of these trucks. Like it's a little weird at first, and it's kind of like learns your habits and kind of helps kind of educate it on how it shifts and everything. I'm not quite fully understanding that, but it does have some kind of adaptive learning type software in it as well. Some people are getting that updated and things, and that's fixing some of the shifting. It just kind of wonky. Sometimes it shifts a little hard. I've even seen online that actually doing like an aftermarket like performance tune really makes a huge improvement on how well the transmission shifts. So there are some fixes for that, I guess. And like I said, they did update the CDF drum problem mid 2023. So some people, once they have a transmission failure, they get it replaced with the updated trans, they're typically good to go, it seems like. And now for the ugly. And now I love the way this truck looks. I think this body style looks really, really sporty. You can look down the side, it's got these nice, like, kind of hips on it, kind of fenders kind of bulge out a little bit. I love the kind of rounded nose on it. It's not so blocky or squared. I like the texture in the hood, just makes it a little bit more sleek. So I really love the design of the Ranger. The problem is from the factory, they sit nose heavy as all get out. I mean, it is like nose down like a bloodhound just sniffing as hard as they can. I mean, it looks terrible. So you need to put a leveling kit on these things. That's what I did. If that bothers you, which I think it bothers most truck guys, that's just aggravating. So a leveling kit is a must. Like you pretty much have to do that because they do not look great. The other thing is I kind of briefly mentioned the side markers. These were like an ugly amber. This is aftermarket when I bought LED and it's black, so it kind of blends in with the color of the fender better. And the third brake light also was like the Euro style with like the white and the red. Just didn't look really good. So I swapped those out for aftermarket ones just because I did not like the way those looked. The emblems, I swapped those out as well for black ones. I also did the lettering here because it was just embossed. That wasn't bad looking. It's just the blue emblem sticks out like a sore thumb. And I like doing the black lettering because it kind of just gives it a little texture, a little depth. Same thing on the rear here. swapped out for a black, and this was chrome. I actually plastered it this. I'm going to swap it out for an actual black piece of trim that I found online. But the black just looks better than the blue emblem. Now I know classic Ford blue oval. I understand. I'm a Ford truck fan, but the black just looks so much better. I got some couple little extra light accent things I'm going to do. These are going to swap out the black. I think it's also an LED replacement. So I'll do a video on how I swapped out all those emblems and some of those accent lightings. And like I said earlier, I'm going to kind of come up with some kind of custom bed lighting too. So again, hit that subscribe for me. I appreciate you. Helps the channel out. Also from the factory, it has just an ugly, just stainless steel pipe for the exhaust pipe that sticks out right here. I do not like that look at all, even if it did have a nice tip on it. I just don't really like the behind the tire side outlet look. But anything would have looked better than just a stainless steel pipe. So I just cut mine off. So it's kind of sits up. You just don't even notice that I have a tailpipe at all. But overall, this has been a really good little pickup truck, and I've been really happy with it. Now we've gotten over 100,000 miles. She's proved herself. And actually, I got real lucky when I bought this. The dealership I got it from, there was a promotion going on. It actually has a lifetime powertrain warranty. And I told them I was going to put that to the test. And I think I've done a pretty good job so far. But this truck has held up so well, I think it's time to show it some love, give it a little bit more character, change a few things, maybe some performance upgrades. Might have to be a little modest on that so we can keep that warranty in check. But I do have plans to change the look of the Ranger here. But that is going to do it for this video. Now, as always, I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch any of my videos. And if you enjoy this sort of thing, make sure you hit that like, hit that subscribe, and I'm going to catch you guys in the next one.